Imagine standing on the deck of a ship looking out over the vast, frigid waters of the North Atlantic. Above the surface, you see a jagged, shimmering mountain of ice. To the casual observer, that is the iceberg in the world of real estate. This is your Zillow feed, your Redfin notifications, and the familiar blue and red signs dotting suburban lawns. It feels complete. It feels like the entire world of housing is laid out before you in high-definition photos and interactive maps. But as any seasoned navigator knows, the visible peak is a dangerous lie. Beneath the waves lies a massive, invisible colossus that represents the true weight of the ocean's power. This is the off-market revolution, a shadow economy where the most desirable properties on earth change hands in total silence, far from the prying eyes of the public. While the average homebuyer spends their Sunday afternoon scrolling through public listings, a parallel universe of wealth transfer is operating on a scale that would baffle the uninitiated. Statistics suggest that in elite hubs like Los Angeles, London, or Dubai, upwards of 20 to 30% of high-end transactions never touch a public server. We are talking about billions of dollars in assets that vanish from one portfolio and appear in another without a single just listed post or a digital footprint. These are the whisper listings, properties whispered about in the mahogany-paneled rooms of private clubs or shared via encrypted messages between elite brokers who hold the keys to the kingdom. There is a persistent illusion of choice in our modern era. We believe that because we have access to the internet, we have access to everything. We assume that if a house is for sale, it must be on the market, but for the ultra-wealthy, the elite brokers, and the modern seller who values discretion above all else, a for sale sign isn't an invitation, it's a mark of failure. In these exclusive circles, if the general public knows your home is available, you've already lost. It suggests that your network wasn't strong enough to find a buyer privately, or worse, that you are desperate for a deal. To the aristocracy of the new age, public marketing is considered uncouth. A loud and messy process that invites looky-loos and data aggregators to dissect your private life. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. This hidden world isn't just a playground for billionaires anymore. We are witnessing the birth of the off-market revolution, a fundamental shift in how we perceive ownership and transparency. An off-market sale is a transaction handled through private networks, high-end brokers, and exclusive digital circles without a second of public advertising. It is a world governed by non-disclosure agreements and black books rather than open houses and bidding wars. It is an environment where the commodity being traded isn't just square footage, but the preservation of a lifestyle away from the digital spotlight. This leads us to a fascinating curiosity gap that challenges everything we know about modern economics. Why would a seller walk away from the highest bidder on the open market? In a traditional sense, more exposure leads to a higher price. Yet some of the world's most intelligent investors are choosing private, lower-profile deals instead. They are trading the noise of the open market for something far more valuable in the 21st century: control. They are opting for a curated experience where the buyer isn't just a bank account, but a vetted entity that fits the profile of the neighborhood and the history of the estate. In this exploration, we are pulling back the curtain on this secret economy. We will see how the mechanics of secrecy are moving from the gilded halls of European nobility down to the modern middle class. We will investigate the psychological triggers that make a quiet sale more lucrative than a public auction and how technology is actually making the market less transparent, not more. The gate is locking, and most of us don't even realize we're standing on the outside looking at a mountain of ice that is only the tip of the story. The real movement is happening deep beneath the freezing water, in the dark, where the truly most important deals are always made. To understand this, we must look back to the cobblestone streets of old Europe and the estates of the landed gentry. Well before the internet turned every home into a searchable data point, the elite operated under a code of quiet dignity. For European nobility, placing a for sale sign in front of a manor was unthinkable. It wasn't just about privacy, it was about reputation. Marketing a property publicly was a sign of financial distress, a signal that family influence was waning. Real estate was a legacy handed down through generations, and when it changed hands, it did so through discreet conversations between trusted peers. This established the foundation of the off-market world, where prestige was directly tied to invisibility. This evolved into the professionalized pocket listing. As the industry grew more structured, a specific breed of professional emerged: the elite broker. These were gatekeepers who didn't rely on public ads. Instead, they built black books of the world's most powerful individuals. These brokers became the human infrastructure of the invisible market. If a modern seller wanted to move a coastal villa, they sought a surgical strike. The elite broker would dip into their network, making strategic, quiet calls to pre-vetted buyers. This created a secondary market of interpersonal connections, keeping the transaction invisible to the outside world. This exclusivity ensures that the property retains its mysterious allure and high market value. Today, this secrecy has shifted from social etiquette to a requirement. In the age of Google Earth, privacy is the ultimate modern luxury, a commodity more valuable than square footage. High-profile individuals live under a microscope. For them, a public listing is a security breach. It allows looky-loos to virtually walk through their bedrooms via smartphones. By keeping the listing off the market, the seller regains control over their sanctuary. They are no longer selling a house, they are selling access. In this realm, knowing about a property is as prestigious as owning it. The invisibility protects seller data from aggregators, ensuring the walls of their home remain a private fortress. There's also a cold financial logic, the days-on-market trap. In the public sphere, time is the enemy of value. The moment a home is listed, a digital clock starts. If it doesn't sell within 60 days, buyers wonder what is wrong. Is it overpriced? Are there hidden issues? This stigma often leads to forced price drops, stripping the seller of leverage. The off-market approach eliminates this risk. A seller can test a high price in the shadows without the public ever knowing how long it sat. If no buyer emerges, the modern seller pulls the property back into the shadows, its reputation intact. This strategic maneuver grants owners a psychological advantage over any potential suitor who eventually enters the fold. The digital age has brought new tools to this secret economy. We are transitioning from the black book to private digital platforms using artificial intelligence to match anonymous buyers with unlisted properties. These invite-only portals analyze the lifestyle preferences of the ultra-wealthy. This technology allows for precision a public listing could never achieve. A buyer looking for a specific style can be matched with a seller who hasn't exactly decided to sell yet. It is a predictive marketplace that operates with the efficiency of a high-frequency trading floor, turning real estate into a fluid, data-driven exchange. This allows the global elite to move assets across borders with nearly total anonymity and incredible speed. The backbone of this operation is the non-disclosure agreement. In the off-market revolution, the legal process begins before viewing. Before an elite broker shares an address, the buyer must sign a document binding them to silence. This ensures interior photos never leak and transaction details, price, and identity remain confidential. This legal protection turns every viewing into a high-security event. For the modern seller, the NDA is the ultimate shield. This atmosphere of confidentiality reinforces the exclusivity of the asset, making it clear that this isn't just a purchase. It's entry into a world where information is the most guarded treasure. It is a realm where the unwritten rules of the past meet the legal safeguards of the future. The quiet halls of the elite are no longer the only places where these whispers echo. We are witnessing the democratization of the invisible. What was once the exclusive playground of kings and tech moguls is now trickling down into the suburban landscape. The modern seller is no longer just a billionaire hiding a coastal estate. It is increasingly the professional who values peace over a public for sale sign. While the elite broker once held the keys to these hidden kingdoms, new digital platforms now allow regular homeowners to test the private market without the traditional fanfare. These tools empower individuals to bypass the circus of public open houses and the prying eyes of neighbors. By removing the public spectacle, these platforms offer a dignified, controlled exit, proving that the desire for privacy is a universal human trait rather than a luxury reserved for the ultra-wealthy. However, this shift creates a profound systemic challenge, the locked gate problem. For the average buyer, the landscape of home ownership is becoming increasingly treacherous and exclusionary. When the highest quality inventory is traded behind closed doors through elite networks and invite-only apps, the public market is left with the scraps. This creates a two-tiered system where those without the right social connections or digital access are effectively barred from the best opportunities. If the most desirable homes never reach a public website like Zillow or the MLS, the dream of a fair and open market begins to crumble. The average buyer is left competing for a dwindling pool of rejected properties while the real gems change hands in the shadows, hidden from those who need them most. This lack of transparency leads to dangerous market distortion. In a traditional market, prices are determined by public competition and visible data, but in the off-market revolution, the true value of real estate becomes an enigma. Professional appraisers rely on public records, but when significant transactions are shielded by NDAs, the data becomes skewed. This creates a shadow pricing system where the actual market value of a neighborhood might be far higher or lower than what public records suggest. This fog of information makes it nearly impossible for the public to gauge the true health of the housing market, potentially inflating speculative bubbles or hiding impending crashes until the damage is already done. Despite these risks, there are undeniable strategic advantages for the buyer who manages to gain entry into this inner circle. In the invisible market, the irrational energy of a bidding war is replaced by a measured negotiation. Without the artificial pressure of dozens of competing offers, a buyer can conduct due diligence in peace, away from the ticking clock of a public listing. There is also the psychological allure of exclusivity, the prestige of knowing you have acquired a piece of the world that was never even available to the masses. For those with the means, the off-market deal provides security and a guarantee that their financial life remains a private matter, shielded from the invasive data aggregators haunting the public sphere. Looking forward, the traditional multiple listing service faces an existential crisis. It risks becoming a graveyard for unwanted inventory, the digital equivalent of a bargain bin where only the flawed or overpriced properties remain. Meanwhile, the real estate market is shifting entirely to private algorithm-based matching. In this future, your next home won't be found through a search bar, but through an AI that understands your lifestyle better than you do, matching you with a seller in total secrecy. The handshake deal of the past is being resurrected as a line of code, creating a world where ownership is as much about data and connections as it is about capital. As we stand at this crossroads, we must ask what we value more: the transparency that ensures fairness or the privacy that protects our sanctuaries. This revolution, recalling the quiet dignity of the European nobility, is a shift in the social contract of ownership. Is this a return to a more respectful way of doing business or a final blow to the dream of an open egalitarian market? Consider your own priorities. If you were selling your home, would you prioritize the highest bidder at the cost of your privacy, or would you take the quieter path? Share your thoughts on whether the housing market should be legally transparent or if the gate should remain locked for those who value